Her physique, family background, and personality are all perfect as a wife. Louis, my ex-husband, exclaimed happily over the phone. Oh, that's good for you. What's with that cold reaction? Are you upset? No, not really. We are already divorced, so it doesn't matter to me. Although he has just divorced me, he had already remarried another woman, and he bragged about it to me over the phone. According to what I heard, he got married on the day after our divorce was finalized. I had been too busy with work and house chores to notice, but he must have been cheating on me. That was probably why he had wanted a divorce in the first place. Louis continued to provoke me, either knowingly or unknowingly, by boasting about his new wife. I'll send you a picture of my new wife. She's a real beauty. No, thank you. We're done with our phone call, right? Louis had left all the household chores to me, so he had called me to ask for a location of his belongings. However, despite having already finished with the main reason for the call, he had continued to be snarky and brag about his new wife for almost half an hour. I was fed up with him. Nevertheless, Louis insisted on sending a photo. Come on, just take a look. She's way more stylish than you. Okay, I got it. Anyway, I'm hanging up now. After saying that, I hung up the phone. Soon after, a photo was sent to me. Feeling annoyed, I looked at the photo and was surprised. It was a face I recognized. I couldn't believe that she would appear in such a place again. The thought made me laugh uncontrollably, realizing that this was the end of my ex-husband. My name is Bree, and I am 32 years old. I work at a department store in the next town. I started working as a part-time store clerk in high school and became a full-time employee after graduation. Unlike my brother, who dreamed to become a lawyer, I had no particular ambitions and didn't think I would learn much, even if I went to college. The introduction to my ex-husband Louis was largely due to a male colleague whom I had worked with since my part-time job in high school. He had divorced recently and was a victim of a marriage scam. Since he had only been married for less than a year at that time, I was shocked. She totally deceived me, my colleague said, tearfully, as he came to me for advice. It turns out that his ex-wife had fabricated evidence of his infidelity and demanded a divorce and alimony from him. And that was just the beginning. After the divorce, he met a kind woman and started dating her. But it turned out that she was a marriage scam artist and cahoots with his ex-wife. He convinced him to give his ex-wife a severance payment so they could get married. But after he handed over a large sum of money, the woman disappeared and never returned. He attempted to reason with his ex-wife, but she was demanding even more money from him, including alimony. He couldn't get in touch with her, so he asked for advice from my brother Dave, because he knew my brother was a lawyer. That's why I phoned my brother's firm for my colleague. The receptionist who answered the phone call happened to be named Louis, and I relayed the details of my colleague's situation to my brother. My brother offered free legal advice, which I passed on to my colleague. With this advice, my colleague was able to locate the scam artist and his ex-wife, and the case was brought to court. They were charged with fraud, and his ex-wife was ordered to pay him alimony. Just as I was feeling relieved that the issue was revoked, I received a call from a man. It was Louis, the receptionist from the law firm. Excuse me, I'm Louis from the firm. We talked before on the phone. As I listened to your story, I thought what a wonderful woman you are. to go so far for your friend? I've been wanting to meet you since then. Can we meet once?" While listening to him, I thought he was a strange person to suddenly hit on me over the phone. But at the same time, I was wavering because I wanted a boyfriend at the time. Luckily, he was a staff member at my brother's office. So I listened to what my brother had to say and determined that he wasn't a strange person and decided to meet him. After that, we went on a few dates and officially became a couple. My colleague's problem was resolved, and it led to a wonderful encounter with a great man. So I thought it was all right in the end. Yes, Louis was a wonderful man to me at that time. However, within a year of getting married, he changed. In the early days of our marriage, he helped with the housework in addition to his work at the law firm. Although we were both working, I had returned from a full-time employee to a part-time employee and reduced my work days to balance work and housework. So his help was appreciated. He would clean the bathroom as soon as he came home from work, wash the dishes before leaving for work, cook on his days off, and we would share the cleaning. But he only did this kind of help at the beginning, and gradually he stopped helping with the housework. Not only that, but he started saying things that belittled me. "Bree, you are a high school graduate, right? You're not very smart, huh?" Huh? Suddenly, my husband said something terrible about me, and I was surprised to see him in front of me with a dark expression and almost no facial expression. "You know, about my dress shirt, there were some spots. See?" I almost got embarrassed by my important client during the meeting. "You should at least know how to get rid of stains properly. It's something that everyone should be able to do, right?" What's with the sudden complaints? And besides, education has nothing to do with it. It's because you can't even do something as simple as that. High school dropouts don't even bother using their brains. So they can't even clean a single shirt properly, can they? Maybe I just didn't notice it. And even so, what's with the way you say it? It's terrible. Don't you think you are too focused on legal jargon and don't have enough everyday language skills? What? Say that again, you bitch. As Louis raised his voice, I also responded in a stern tone, not wanting to back down. I'll say it many times as you want. Your tone is just too harsh. It's unreasonable of you to talk to me, as if I'm a stupid person, just because there was a stain on your shirt once. What right do you, who have only worked as a shop assistant, have to say that? Before we knew it, we were constantly bickering like this. Unreasonable words from my husband were a part of my daily life. You only know about fashion. You have no common sense, so you don't even fulfill your duties as a wife. It's embarrassing to admit that my wife is only a high school dropout. I have been constantly told such things by my husband. According to him, I was not doing the household chores to his satisfaction. I often had to work shifts early in the morning or late at night, so I would try to finish the chores quickly. My husband seemed to believe that all the household chores should be done meticulously and with great care by the wife. However, he would not allow me to quit my job because it would put us under financial strain. He instead demanded that I balance work and housework while still satisfying his expectations. This led to constant fights between us. And although I thought about consulting my brother, his office was just getting bigger, and he was very busy. I didn't want to burden him, so instead, I subtly talked to my parents about it. They simply told me to give it some time, since I have been married for a short while. As a result, Our relationship continued to deteriorate, and we ultimately decided to separate a few months ago. When Louis told me that he couldn't live with me anymore. When Louis said those words, I didn't feel shocked. Instead, I felt relieved. I was finally free from this terrible man. I knew exactly how I felt and immediately applied for divorce. When I saw a photo of the perfect wife that my ex-husband had sent me, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. The woman he considered his wife was actually a marriage scammer who had tricked one of my colleagues 3 years ago. She had probably not even submitted the marriage registration form. In my head, I connected my colleague's fraud case with this situation and easily guessed what had happened. It was likely that the woman had taken revenge on me, using Louis to get a divorce, because she had been caught for fraud. However, instead of getting revenge, this turned out to be the most convenient outcome for me. After all, we wouldn't want to be rid of such a terrible and abusive husband. I didn't care if Louis was cheated out of his money by her. If he had cheated on me, I wanted him to be punished for it. So, I contacted my brother's firm.
I see. This is turning into quite a story. Like a messy daytime soap opera.
Yeah. Can you tell me what can be done? If you find out about your ex-husband's infidelity after the divorce.
Well, based on what we've discussed so far, you should be able to claim compensation for damages. Even if you didn't realize he was cheating at the time. If his infidelity contributed to the breakdown of your relationship, you should be able to make a claim. Also, you can only claim compensation for adultery if the person your ex-husband had sexual relations with was someone other than his spouse.
So, if we can prove that Louis's affair was one of the causes of the breakdown of our relationship, and that he had sexual relations with that woman, we can make a claim for damages, right?
That's right. To collect evidence, it would be good to gather things like receipts from his outings to determine the date and time. Also, if possible, any exchanges on social media. He might have told something to his colleagues. So, I'll ask around too.
I've never felt so grateful for my brother being a lawyer before. My brother and I started gathering evidence together. Eventually, we found plenty of evidence that Louis couldn't deny. When the time was right, I headed to my brother's office where Louis was still working.
Bree, why are you here?
What are you talking about? My brother works here. Is it strange for me to come here? Or did you forget that my brother is your boss?
But Dave doesn't like mixing business with pleasure, and it's okay to keep my job here after our divorce.
Just as Louis started saying that, my brother's voice interrupted him.
No, this time Bree has made an official request. So there's no mixing of business and pleasure.
With my brother's words, Louis's expression froze.
If my little sister has made an official request, then it can be considered the most important case.
Ignoring Louis's surprise, my brother placed some photos on the table.
This is a printout of a WhatsApp screenshot that you sent to your colleague. There are many things written there that indicate that you're having an affair, aren't there?
There were words lined up on the printout that confirmed my brother's words that Louis had cheated. I've made a reservation at a restaurant here today. Miss you, Helen. I've told my wife that I have to work this weekend. So let's meet at your place at 9 a.m. I want to leave my wife as soon as possible and be with you. I love you, Helen. It was all content that made me feel disgusted and gave me goosebumps. Additionally, My brother placed a few receipts next to the photos and explained further.
These receipts are from when you went on a trip with Helen, right? Looking at the date, it matches the date on WhatsApp.
Then my brother calmly explained the evidence, while Louis increasingly hunched his shoulders. And when he was told the approximate amount of compensation, Louis fell to his knees right there at the size of the amount.
I'm really sorry. I'll apologize. I'll make it up to you, so please don't claim compensation. So, are you planning to changing your mind and returning to Bree?
Louis looked at my brother and me with a pitiful expression and said,
That's not possible, because I already have a wife. It's the person you married after cheating, isn't it?
My brother said with a grin.
Well then, the compensation claim is inevitable. Since Bree suffered damages, she has the right to legally claim compensation. Oh, and also,
my brother added as if he had just remembered,
you're fired. Recently, you've been leaving work early and your work attitude has been problematic. I guess because you've been so obsessed with that Helen girl. I've let it go because you've been working for a long time, but I can't be quiet about it anymore. Please, pack up your things and leave.
Louis brought himself into even more trouble, and my brother said it with a casual attitude. We knew what was coming. He was about to find out that he had been deceived by Helen and would lose all his money, ending up in a state of misery. And we were right. As expected, Louis was left by Helen and lost a significant amount of money since they had not submitted their marriage registration papers. Although it is a pity, I did not feel inclined to help him, considering what he has done. Marriage fraud is not acceptable, of course, but he was the kind of person who regularly threw abusive words at his wife and cheated on his wife and married again the day after their divorce was finalized. He deserves what he's done. While it is unacceptable that Helen, a swindler, gets away without punishment, my brother said with a cool demeanor,
I think it'd be okay if we leave her alone. She has a criminal record, and the police know her face. And judging by the fact that she's repeating the same thing, she'll probably commit fraud again. Don't worry, she'll be caught soon enough.
As my brother predicted, a few months later, the face and name of the marriage fraudster who had deceived 4 people in 5 years appeared in the newspaper. I am satisfied that I was able to make both my ex-husband Louis and his mistress suffer. As a result, Louis had to pay me compensation while he was in a state of losing a lot of money. He seems to be struggling quite a bit. My ex-husband, who had only worked as a telephone operator for a law firm, seems to be having trouble finding a decent job. He's currently surviving on daily labor, but I want him to work hard for the compensation. As for me, I feel refreshed and my life is back on track after the divorce. I was able to return to my previous job at the shop as a regular employee, and my work is fulfilling. Through this incident, I once again realized the concept of karma. From now on, I want to be even more sincere to myself and those around me, and create a lot of happiness.